And we continue. So we're just looking at the classification method, which is just as it suggests, we're trying to find ways of classifying jobs into different categories. But when we do this, we're trying to ensure that there's similarities amongst all the jobs in that category. So for example, I might find out that all the first level administrative positions in an organization belong to one category. Just like I might find out that everybody who's in charge of a department it belongs in another category. So I'm basically coming up with a structure based on how I've categorized people, and jobs. Within each category, I will find similar type jobs. And of course, if I find similar type jobs, that is my justification for why I'm paying them equally. If jobs are in different categories, then they're different jobs, and therefore they should be paid differently. The next one is the point method, which is getting a little bit more scientific, and getting a little bit more real, and this tends to be what we use. So there are three common characteristics of point methods. They use compensable factors, which is actually a factor based on compensation. Well, we'll determine what that means. They have factors that are looked at in degrees that are numerically scaled, and they also have weights that reflect the relative importance of each factor. So you could see we're really trying to get a little bit more, as I say, logical and scientific in our approach here. So each job's relative value, and therefore where it's placed in the structure, is determined by using points. So the first thing to determine is what really is this compensable factor. So the compensable factors are the criteria that we use to evaluate jobs when we're using this points method. So what is this factor? They're based on the strategic direction of the organization and how the work contributes to the achievement of these objectives. So these factors are then scaled to reflect the degree to which they are present in each job, and weighted to reflect their overall importance to the organization. Then we assign points to the factor, and then we add up the points to find out where the position is. So this is how we would do it, and then I'll get into some examples. So as we know, we have to have done the job analysis. We determine the compensable factors, we scale them, we weigh them according to importance, and then we communicate. So let's look at, well, we've done this already. We know that we need to have very well done proper job analysis in place so that we are using the right, most up-to-date document. Okay, so a compensable factor is a characteristic in the work that the organization values. It actually helps the job get done. So they should be based on the strategy and values of the organization. They should be based on the work performed, and everybody should agree that that's what we're basing the structure on. So in trying to figure out what is a compensable factor, you're really supposed to ask yourself, what is it about this work that adds value? What is it that could be translated to competitive advantage? So here's a good example. One organization decided that decision making is one of their compensable factors, because at the end of the day, we all know that bad decisions could literally break organizations. So they've decided that the ability to make decisions is a big compensable factor, or a big factor that can add value to the organization. So they've broken it down into three areas: how complex and risky is a decision, what's the impact that this decision could have, and the time that must pass before the impact is evident. So can we immediately see that in every job people have to make decisions? Yes, so that therefore it's a good factor to use. But can we see that within different jobs these things may vary? How complex, how risky, the impact, how long it takes, and these are the things that we're now going to use to try and determine the weight of a job. Yeah. So what is the organization saying here? They're saying, if they've chosen this factor, that one of their competitive advantages is the ability to make decisions at work. They are signaling to employees that their jobs will be valued based on the types of the decisions and the nature of the decisions. And they're very clearly saying jobs that require riskier decisions with greater impact have a higher relative worth than jobs that require fewer decisions that are not so critical and have less consequences. That makes sense. So the higher you are in the organization, the more risky your decisions are, the more impact they have, the more challenging they are. Those types of jobs will be paid more. But without thinking about it in terms of hierarchy, they're just looking at the job itself and determining where each job is in terms of decision making. So perhaps another compensable factor might have been customer focus. Perhaps another one might have been the ability to manage teams. You'll see where we're going here. It's whatever the organization decides they want to use as a compensable factor. So once again, they must be based on the strategy of the organization. They must reinforce the culture and values. If an organization is trying to change, that might be one right there, the ability to manage change. If they no longer support strategy, they no longer need to use them. And as I said, everybody should accept them. So how many factors should you have? Now, research has indicated that a 21-factor plan produced the same rank order as one that only used 7 factors. And some organizations have only used 3 factors because the same structure was created if you use 3, 7, or 21. So there's no exact order. So for example, you and your organization might decide you're going to use decision making, team management, implying that those who have a team should be looked at in a different way to those who don't, as in those who manage a team, and customer service. Those could be the 3 factors that you're using to judge for all of your jobs in terms of compensation. So we've looked at a few. Let's kind of compare them all. So ranking, fast, simple, easy to use. But of course, the more jobs there are, the more cumbersome it gets. And we're still very subjective as to what we're comparing, right? Classification, we could look at lots and lots of different types of work and put them into one system by classifying them. But again, it's still subjective, and there may be some room to manipulate a little bit. The point system is when we use compensable factors as the basis for comparisons, and that clearly communicates what is being valued. And then, of course, it can become a bit bureaucratic and rule-bound. So there's one more that's a very globally used one, the Hay method. They use 3. So this is actually a point method one, but it's been sort of, well, sold. You can buy this and use this, right? So their 3 factors are very clear. The know-how in the job, your problem-solving capability, and your accountability. So those are their 3 compensable factors that they have used, which makes sense for any organization, right? Then they have guide charts that quantify these factors in more detail. So once you determine whatever factors you want to use based on these 3 kind of areas, then you can actually go down a level. So let's just look straight to the example. So this one is knowledge, so they're about know-how, and they have taken it into degrees. So the general compensable factor is knowledge. To the 1st degree, use of reading and writing, adding and subtracting, etc. This one is a bit more, use of the same thing, but you can use formulas, charts, tables, diagrams. You can use adjustable measuring reading instruments. 3rd degree is when you use math with complicated drawings and charts and tables. Here you're now going into precision making instruments, higher mathematics. So you all could see that for knowledge, they've actually broken it down into the different areas. And I'm sure once you see this, you can now realize, aha, this is going to be much easier to decide what job is where. So let's say I'm an accounts assistant 1, I might be here. Oh, okay, maybe that's not an example. Maybe I am I don't know what these positions are. Somebody who deals with the correct measurement of metals. Let's say I'm a measurer of metals, and I might be here. But if I'm the engineer that has to actually design the metal structure, I might be in the 4th degree. You'll get that, right? So different jobs would have different levels based on the job itself. Right. So far we've said that we can have the different compensable factors, we can have different degrees, and the next thing we can do is actually weight them, okay? So once the degrees have been assigned, we can now weigh the differences based on which are more important, okay? Again, the example will make this a lot clearer. So Let's say we have 4 compensable factors here. We can now weigh them so that you'll get something that looks like this. These are our 4: skill, effort, responsibility, working conditions. We have various degrees. So skill, mental, this job was a degree 4, but for experience they were a 3. This is just, again, somebody's justification for this particular job of a bookstore manager. Then we can weight how much of their job do they use mental, experience, physical, mental. You'll see where we go in here. And then we total it all up. So we literally say that this job is a degree 4 job. 20% of the time they spend doing degree 4. It's 20 by 4, 80. 20 by 3, 60. And we total up to 310 points. Now let's say I was the bookstore assistant, and I might have been 1 and 1. So then this would have been 1 by 20, 20. You could see how immediately my number would be lower, and therefore this job would be ranked higher than if I was an assistant. If I was a bookstore area manager for 6 bookstores, again, these numbers might be 5 on 5, 4 and 5. Y'all see where I'm going? Therefore, when I multiply it against the weightings that I've determined, these numbers would be higher. So I'm really now able to justify my structure in a very, very kind of scientific or mathematical way once I determine the degrees and the weightings. The next step, once we've done all of that, is to make sure that people understand it, people can apply the plan. We have to communicate these things very clearly. We communicate what our compensable factors are. We communicate where the degrees are in terms of each job, etc. Woo! What are we getting when we do all of this? The final structure. We're getting a structure that determines or shows which jobs are seen to be more valuable than others. This is really the essence of compensation here. So for example, I might end up determining that this is the order. So we could look at it as a group. This is where each position would lie. This one would be obviously more valuable than this one, etc. Or maybe in an office, I get my end structure that looks like this, which should determine that these people would be paid the same, these would be paid higher, these would be paid even higher, these would be paid the highest. Yeah. So this is what I'm trying to do. And again, most of you would be familiar with organizations that have this structure, but this is how we get there. This is not a subjective thing. This is, or it shouldn't be. This is how we determine which position fits where. So differences in pay do matter. They matter to employees because their willingness to take on more responsibility and training needs to be under, like, why would they want to take on more responsibility and training? Well, they can see now that if they do, they will probably get paid more. In terms of focusing or adding more value to customers, improving quality, the focus we put there can be looked at in the jobs itself and how we're actually structuring the jobs at the different levels. Differences in the rates paid for different jobs and skills will influence how people believe they are treated. So you might have, let's say you were a senior secretary and you might have never understood, well, I'm senior secretary. Why am I not being paid as much as the executive assistant? Well, somebody has done some homework and determined that based on what the organization thinks important, this position is adding more value than this one. And again, the key is that once we're able to justify this fairly, and this stays, this is our structure, people are generally much more willing to accept and understand and feel that there is fairness. So I know this was a bit of a complicated one, but the idea behind it is that there are ways that we can determine which job adds more value. Perhaps listen to it again, of course, do some more reading. But the fairer we are in doing this is the fairer our structure will be. And of course, if these things are not linked to strategic objectives, then we are not building that in to our compensation. And therefore, strategic compensation management might be a little challenging. That's it for now. Thanks. Have a good week.